Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today I'm coming at you from inside my garage and I'm getting ready for winter. I'm putting my Hiniker Tilt Lift blade on the big ass station wagon. So I've ran this thing for 1 year now. This is a homeowner grade blade. And even though it's a homeowner unit, it's built pretty decent. It's got a stainless mold board. It's got a full trip edge on it. And it has a feature like no other blade. It's called a tilt lift because when this comes up, the mold board rolls out, and you'll notice that there's no plow lights on here. That's because with the blade rolled out, my headlights shine over the top of the blade, and it also keeps the airflow to the radiator unrestricted. So there's a lot of nice things about this blade, but they don't make it anymore. They couldn't sell them, I guess. There's a couple things about it I don't like. It doesn't angle left and right as sharp as a standard blade would. That's not that big a deal for a homeowner blade, but it's kind of a deal breaker if you're a commercial contractor. The other thing I don't like about it is the way it plows. It scrapes perfect and works great until you get to the end of a blacktop run and you want to lift the blade up a little bit as you're pushing into the turf to keep from scalping the turf. So on this blade, as soon as you start to lift the plow, the mold board rolls out. When the mold board rolls out, this cutting edge starts to roll back, and eventually it gets to a point about here, and as you're pushing across the turf, if you hit any snow piles, it just rolls up on them like this, and then the blade just rolls up and you're not pushing anything anymore. If you leave the blade on the ground, it'll scrape right tight. But to just lift it up an inch and keep the mold board where it is right now, you can't really do that. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can see I'm starting to raise the blade. So first of all, we're going to look, let's just look at the cutting edge. Still on the ground, still on the ground, just starting to come off the ground now. Well, you can see that if you hit a snow pile here, this is going to want to lift the blade. And then as you go up, this is full tilt lift position. Now, this clearance from here to here is wonderful. There's no problem with that at all. And you can see that the headlights are way above the mold board. Airflow to the radiator is great. All that stuff's wonderful. But we're going to look at one other piece here now when I function it again. Here's our ram. Okay, look at this piece here and realize that this mold board pivots on the frame right here with this tube. You see how that works? When this ram comes out, pivot, pivot, here's the ram. When it pushes these out, it's pushing this bar ahead, which is rolling this mold board ahead. So my plan is to somehow make this link right here detachable with a pin, and set up so that I can have the best of both worlds. What I'd like to do, I leave here to go do commercial plowing, and I'll be gone for 12 hours or whatever it is. By the time I come home from my shift, there's a pile of snow at the end of the road, and I want to have the blade on the truck when I get home. So I'm going to travel with this 20 miles to work and 20 miles back, and I'd like to do that in the tilt lift position because it lets the air flow into the radiator and the headlights work and all that good stuff. So if I get home, I'd like to be able to just pull a pin, move a piece of linkage, and be in more of a conventional lift mode, if that's even possible on this blade. And that's what I'm going to explore. This is what I want right here. This is what I'd like to have. Let's have it lift conventionally like this, instead of being tilted. Now I just got to figure out how to accomplish that. So one thought I had was to put a plate here, and a hole through here, and a pin, and lock this mold board to this pivot pin. I was afraid this thin steel, I'd tear it out. So then I thought, well, I want to replace this tube with a thicker tube. Well, that tube is actually it's actually welded in there. I mean, this can't clear this to come out either way. So unless I want to wreck this, then I can't really just replace that tube. Then I thought, well, if this piece was tied back and pinned to the A-frame somehow, that would work. I ain't got there yet. And then I thought, if this piece was, oh, you know, it had the raise and the whatchamacallit there, just like a conventional snowplow, then I could do it that way. Well, I'd have to weld a piece on here because actually the swing of this over centers. If I had a piece that was a 1/4 inch wide right here going over the top of this, it would still hit this. So I can't make anything strong enough. And then how am I going to pin it down there and make it easily removable? So that's what I'm working on. So this is the effect I'm looking for. I want the blade up in the standard position. Yeah, that piece is getting jammed in there, but you get the idea. Now I just got to figure out how to make that happen. So there's part 1 on the Hiniker Tilt Lift, the problem. Stay tuned for the next video on the Hiniker Tilt Lift, the solution. Thanks for watching. Later. Oh, by the way, I ain't figured out the solution yet, so don't hold your breath waiting on that video.